Hi, welcome to another episode of Jalan Jalan. We're going to begin our flight tonight. It's actually Thursday morning. It's midnight, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So we're going to begin here at Leo Square. This is the new traffic junction at Petitenget. We're going to go down towards Petitenget, swing around Seminyak, and take a good look at it. So follow me as we get into place. All right, so the topic I'm going to talk about broadly is advertising, because advertising and marketing are a pretty critical, important part of how business is done in Bali. And there's no better space to talk about it than in Seminyak, which is a place that has a location that has had, I suppose, some of the most sophisticated and avant-garde advertising and marketing in probably the world. And the way I remember how advertising was kind of a critical part of my, this is Da Maria, by the way. Okay, so on my other series, Market Insights, I go around trying to explore, whether or not places are empty or full. But tonight, and this is a Wednesday night at Da Maria, it looks really full. There's like a pretty thick crowd of people coming out here in the street. Here, I'll flip the camera around so you can see them. There's like some people getting Gojek rides. There's a lady walking across. It's a busy street scene here. But okay, all right, time to go. So, wow, it's packed. It's good to see young people milling about, still going to nightclubs. There's been a debate recently about whether or not nightclubs as a category are going out of fashion and style, because so many of the younger generation, Gen Zs, prefer to go to gyms and have wellness culture replace drinking and nightlife culture. But I think people should go out and still have some fun at night too, right? So I guess that's evidence that if you're looking for an activity of tourism, that's a good proxy indicator then. Let's get back to the topic of advertising. So Seminyak, back when I was here in the 2000s to 2010s, had a very avant-garde advertising industry. It was mostly printed ads. There were a few fairly reputable and large magazines at the time, and also there was the Bali Advertiser, for anybody who remembered that. Bali Advertiser is where I found my first job. My first job was at Karma Jimbaran, and I worked under a sales team led by Richard Voss. He actually was a timeshare salesperson who had upgraded to luxury villa development. So Bali Advertiser, Bali Now, and the Yak and the Boon magazine were the primary ways that restaurants, fashion brands, cargo companies, anybody who wanted to basically tap into an expat or even a traveler audience would advertise. I mean, between Alistair Spears was the editor-in-chief of, I believe it was Bali Now, and Sophie Digby was the editor-in-chief of the Yak magazine. Between the two of them, I think they knew every single hotel, vice president of marketing, general manager, every food and beverage director. It was actually a really cozy community back then. It was a cozy community because it was kind of like, I guess it was very Anglo, like everyone liked to drink gin and tonics, everybody liked to hang out for happy hour, Sunday roast, pub. That was a culture that really brought together this circle of elites in the advertising industry, because the most fashionable and sexy people were all people who could actually, I guess, sell high profit luxury items, and they had the money to advertise in magazines, in glossy magazines. Well, as I said in a previous episode, that all basically eroded away around the 2007s up to about 2015, just slightly before COVID. And of course, the reason was because travelers were beginning to use Tripadvisor. So travelers using Tripadvisor slowly decayed away the advertisers that would post ads from industries like hotels, resorts, and beach clubs. Because simply put, oh, here's ShiShi, by the way. ShiShi's still going on, which is pretty cool. I guess there's some people at ShiShi. Okay, let's turn the camera so you can kind of see ShiShi behind me. It's over there. ShiShi, I guess, is not doing as good as it used to do. All right, time to go. Can't hold up traffic just to show you guys ShiShi. But it's pretty light. It doesn't look very busy at ShiShi. Okay, so what was happening in the advertising industry was when Tripadvisor came out, websites that were high traffic, high volume websites came out, then the frame shift was the first advertisers to drop out were guests, advertisers who were looking for guests. So that meant hotels, and then slowly beach clubs, accommodations, resorts. They stopped advertising because they knew that, well, along with, I guess, websites, there was also booking platforms like, I think at the time it was, there was already Agoda, there was Booking.com, there was Flipkey, there's a few of these pre-Airbnb large hotel booking sites that, and Expedia, of course, let's not forget Expedia. So it didn't make sense to advertise in magazines anymore because by the time someone would read your magazine, they had already made their decision to book a hotel or resort in advance. So the second wave of advertisers eventually to push out, eventually to leave, were the local advertisers. These were like restaurants, ATV, whitewater rafting, these types of advertisers. They would also pull out too because of platforms like Tripadvisor and eventually things like Airbnb. And because, well, actually I jumped ahead of myself. Airbnb came in later. So experiential travel pulled out because, well, Tripadvisor could satisfy that too. And moreover, there was the dawn of social media. And so social media, I don't know if I need to explain this, but maybe in Bali people don't know this yet, but social media killed pretty much all printed advertising after a while. We're gonna pass by Motel Mexicola here. This is another hot nightlife spot here. So social media meant that the very last tranche of advertisers, local businesses that were, just selling knickknacks or whatever they could to other local businesses, like vendors that sold fabric or furniture to hotels. Facebook and Facebook marketplaces eventually killed that. All right, we're pulling up to Motel Mexicola. It's midnight and you can see it's kind of empty actually. There's a lot of drivers here hoping to catch fares, but I don't see that many party goers on the street. Okay, so social media basically centralized all advertising to Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and eventually WhatsApp. So printed advertising is dead these days. I mean, very few people actually look inside printed advertising to get inspiration for what they might do. I mean, who actually touches paper these days to get information? It's a paperless world. People are looking at screens. So the tragedy, I think, and the applicability of what we can see with one, fly with caution, with one technology disruption is to just ask a simple question. Is Bali in the middle of another technology disruption with AI? And, I'm fairly biased to say yes, of course. I come from Silicon Valley. I come from a background where we've seen multiple technology disruptions over and over the decades. So it's just become second nature to expect this type of disruption. But let's say we take what we understand right now about what we can see in Bali, and we just make some predictions about how AI might change things in the next 5 or 10 years too, right? So let's say reservation staff at hotels. If you've seen some of the comments in my other YouTube videos, one of the main complaints that people have for hotels in Bali is that slow response, no response, or wrong response and missed expectations. This is even more so on the proliferation of all these informal hotels like on Airbnb and Booking.com too, vacation rentals, these are basically people who have no experience, no protocols, and oftentimes they're getting guests and the guests are dissatisfied with their experiences because they can just be so unpredictable. So yeah, reception in, I think, a hotel is one of the first jobs where an AI chatbot that has full knowledge of standard operating procedures, knowledge bases, this is one work that's going to go away. We can all already see the dawn of AI robots. You've seen these in China doing performances for Chinese New Year, Spring Autumn Festival. They can do Kung Fu now, okay? So is it too hard to imagine that a robot that can do Kung Fu can change sheets on a bed, or can maybe even do something like cook you a nasi goreng? Well, yeah, today no, but you know, social media back in 2010 also looked really, really horrific compared to the way it looks now. It was way, way dumber too. So social media now is like crack cocaine. I mean, it's so potently addictive. It's I've seen people just, I saw this interview guy, we interviewed a gentleman the other day in Canggu, and he used a grayscale for his phone just to avoid looking into his phone too often. So within years, and AI is going to get smarter and build smarter AI. So you just kind of think about that positive feedback loop, and you can imagine, well, probably won't be very long before even manual jobs start getting replaced. And of course, the naysayers and the people who don't like AI are going to say the human touch. But, you know, I don't think people really understand what the human touch means. And now we're at La Favela. This is what it looks like here at La Favela tonight. Pretty, yeah, it's okay. Moderate. Hey, what's up, man?
That's all one.
Yeah. What's up?
Hey.
All right, where are you from?
I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Okay, welcome. I've met more people actually from Saudi Arabia these days. It's kind of a unexpected new demographic coming to Bali, which is also funny because I thought most people in Saudi Arabia would be Muslims, and they're out here partying at La Favela. Everyone likes a good party. Come on, it's just human nature. You can't deny what we are born to appreciate. So, all right, let me navigate through this. This probably looks pretty cool up on the drone. Downtown Seminyak. So, a bit more quiet than years before, but also a bit more busy than during the dinner time hour. Okay, so we cleared out of this part of Petitenget, and we'll take a quick bypass over back down the other way again. All right, so, right, give me a second to collect my thoughts here. Traffic is a little bit gnarly. All right, we'll clear the traffic. All right, what was I talking about? I guess I was talking about, oh yeah, the disruption of AI and what that might actually look like and mean in the near future. Well, I can't make too many predictions at this point, but one of the things I definitely appreciate using AI for is actually building a YouTube channel. Because I swear to God, I'm gaining like probably 3 years of experience in 3 months by just asking really good questions. My take on things right now in regards to appreciation and probably humility about AI is that it's not about the human touch or not the human touch.
3 more minutes.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got 3 more minutes before the drone runs out of batteries, which probably means this is a good point to stop. Actually, this is a good place to stop. We're back on Sunset Road, and we're gonna stop here. But what I want to talk about in my next episode is what exactly is the human touch, and how do we apply the human touch? I don't think all humans also have the human touch. There's a lot of humans that are pretty, as anybody who's managed humans will know, a lot of humans are kind of tone deaf too. All right, that's it for this episode, Jalan Jalan. Thank you for coming in, and we'll see you on the next one.